Sony have had a phenomenal decade. After putting their foot in their mouth with the overpriced and under-supported PS3, it felt like watching the Xbox 360 gain so much traction and success kinda let them just bide their time. They knew that next time around all those failures would be addressed. Where the 6-axis controller was criticized for being another DualShock, they'd bulk everything out into the mighty DualShock 4. Where there were precious few exclusives, there'd be a cavalcade of essential recommendable titles that you'd buy the console just to play. In short, especially when compared to how much Microsoft dropped the ball and then just faceplanted it, Sony have only gone from strength to strength, even pioneering things like PSVR as a whole new way to play. However, all those wider business moves mean very little if you don't have the games, and thankfully the PS4's lineup might be the best collection of exclusives in the company's history. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 15 best PlayStation exclusives of the decade. Number 15, Days Gone. Before launch, Sony Ben's take on the zombie survival genre felt like just another churned out execution on an expected formula, a shooter as mindless as the hordes that populated it. But when you get into Days Gone, it's a deeper story about loss, redemption, and the human will to survive at all costs. Paired with an unprecedented style of open-world horror where all hell can break loose in seconds, letting you grow attached to a sweet custom bike was the perfect accompaniment to making it through in one piece. Both gunplay and melee combat are handled well too. Thwacking enemies with spiked bats has real weight to it, but those hordes of infected can overwhelm you if you get too cocky. A strong new IP from the same studio that once brought you the Siphon Filter series, Days Gone is set to be one of those games that absolutely slays its follow-up installment. Number 14, YAKUZA 0. Not gonna lie, it was not easy deciding which YAKUZA game to pick. They are all equal parts insane, massive, and stuffed with things to do, that picking just one never seemed enough. Still, a single title has to lead the way despite me recommending the whole franchise, and I'm gonna go with YAKUZA 0. The 6th main installment in the series is also a prequel, but still follows the story of our unlikely protagonists. Both Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima return, and you switch between the two at determined points in the story, charting their rise to where they start off in the original first game. The exploration, arcade games, the cabaret, and real estate side activities. Besides an ace story, this is a detailed chunk of fictional Japan that is a blast to take in. You just can't go wrong with any of the YAKUZA games, and there's a reason they're now dominating sales charts in the West as well as back east. Number 13, Gravity Rush. I am forever looking for brand new game mechanics and ideas, and in a decade where the biggest companies started playing things safer than ever, Gravity Rush still stands out as a super recommendable hidden gem. As amnesiac protagonist Kat, both this and the sequel's unique selling point is being able to aim the polarity of gravity, so you can traverse the entirety of an environment. Pathways and town squares, sure, but also the sides of buildings, suspended debris, and all in every direction. It gives rise to new means of exploration and combat, injecting some life into the action-adventure genre, and comes with a bunch of snappy, arcadey, melee-focused action. Number 12, Detroit Become Human. Like Hideo Kojima, David Cage tends to divide the room. Personally, I am a defender of Heavy Rain, and that was about it. As whilst Detroit Become Human is heavy-handed as hell, it is also eventually surprisingly effective. Split between 3 androids, each with different motives, the plot revolves around the human/machine singularity that so many other fictions have touched upon. What makes Detroit work, though, is choice. Playing as a bastion for android rights, a runaway trying to protect a child, and the police officer hunting them down, it creates an inner turmoil that's entirely intentional. You'll spare one character 1 minute only to face the repercussions somewhere else. Choices have real consequence, multiple playthroughs are encouraged, and you'll need to make a bunch of unique decisions to unlock all the endings. Also, just saying Connor and Hank as a weekly detective show would be the best thing ever. Number 11, Journey. It's pretty clear to say that games always were art, the definition being something close to expression or creation with intent. But Journey is one of those gorgeous titles that just needs framing in any museum. Playing as a robed, silent, and nameless protagonist, your sole purpose is to trek to a distant mountain. Accompanied by another anonymous player in real time, you're free to communicate in chime sound effects as a hint on where to go, but that's about it. The power of Journey is everything other than overt game mechanics. There are gorgeous sand dune sliding sections where you drink in the sun together, a terrifying underground section where avoiding a large serpentine beast is key, and a heart-wrenching finale where you'll realize just how cherished your unspoken bond has become. Journey is best completed in one sitting with one random person, but its real staying power is a wider comment on our own A to B journey through life, with all the pitfalls and soaring highs that come alongside. Number 10, Until Dawn. I kinda didn't realize just how underused teen slasher horror was in gaming before Until Dawn knocked everything out the park. An ensemble cast includes heroes Hayden Panettiere, pre-Freddie Mercury Rami Malek, and the always sinister Peter Stormare, but the real meat of the experience lies in choice. Centered around our cast trying to survive in a cabin in the woods, as clearly there are other forces at work, Until Dawn makes you control all those moments where a character is exploring a distant noise, one footstep at a time. It lets you make every key decision on who lives and dies, and besides the plot itself being stupidly fun to watch unfold, there are a bunch of separate endings based on who makes it out alive. Seriously, Until Dawn is one of my most recommendable games on this whole list, and it's easily one of the shiniest hidden gems in the PlayStation catalog. Number 9, Ratchet & Clank, 2016. A somewhat overlooked revival thanks to being paired with a truly forgettable movie of the same name, 2016's Ratchet & Clank is the installment for fans new and old. Framed as Captain Quark retelling the events of the original game, it allows Insomniac to revisit their original with fresh commentary and innovation, also shaking up the way that Ratchet controls. This 2016 edition finally managed to hybridize the platformer and action personalities of the series sequels into a perfect mesh. It's all down to holding L2 to switch from a platformer camera to aiming third-person shooter style, and when that's paired with the best gadgets in the series, the whole thing is just a blast to take in. Besides looking absolutely gorgeous regardless of whether you're on Pro or a base PS4, this is a veteran developer executing on their craft with perfection. Number 8, Persona 5. Though it's been around for years, starting out as a spin-off from the Shin Megami Tensei series, Persona is now on a hot streak that might end up rivaling Final Fantasy's form from the 90s. Easily one of the most stylish JRPGs you could ever play, Persona 5 is a great game for returning fans and newcomers alike. Story-wise, it's a bit of a trip, focused on high school students balancing the books with supernatural universes, magical personas, and an attempt to convert the minds of criminals and perverts in equal measure. Whilst I'd still say the Persona 4 should be your first stop if you can find a way to play it, Persona 5's presentation and soundtrack is so good. The way it remixes and speeds up classic turn-based combat tropes also lets the pace hurtle along, giving you an eclectic cast and supremely fun world of mind-bending possibilities to get totally lost in. That main theme though, Number 7, Marvel's Spider-Man. All bets were kinda off when it came to Insomniac's take on Spider-Man. How much would they lean into the iconic second movie tie-in that first perfected open-world web-swinging? Would they take any lessons from the melee focus of Shattered Dimensions or the aerial battering of Web of Shadows? Thankfully, Insomniac played things pretty safe, but in the best way possible, nailing the momentum of swinging out the gate with an excellent opening, then segueing into a strong story, ace cast of characters, and arguably the best on-screen Peter Parker ever. I say arguably because Tom Holland is damn good, but you can argue that out in the comments below. It is so easy to just lose a bunch of time exploring New York City. The sense of scale, the rush of speed from thwipping from building to building, Insomniac truly make the Big Apple your playground. And you'll want to roleplay the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, dropping in to stop crimes or just take some selfies in Times Square. Number 6, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Little did we know when Uncharted 4 was announced that the character was kinda lacking some true narrative grounding. Underneath all the ledge grabbing and explosions was a human being, and by focusing on his potential retirement, his grappling with what his true love was, Elena or adventuring, it retroactively enhances every other adventure he's been on. Every oh crap or near miss really was just that, and alongside Uncharted 4 being a graphical powerhouse, we have the most refined version of the game's combat yet. A grapple hook and some dynamic stealth mechanics knitting gunfights together better than ever. I'm gonna say that Uncharted 4 does Hollywood spectacle better than Hollywood right now, and making things like this game's Jeep chase playable is genuinely jaw-dropping. Number 5, Bloodborne. The debate rages on as to whether Dark Souls or Bloodborne is truly better, but there's no denying the latter shook up the foundations for something altogether more action-based. Taking away your trusty shield and giving you a firearm instead, combat was immediately faster, more fluid and even stylish, but still equally punishing if you flubbed a hit or gunshot parry. Bloodborne doesn't sacrifice any of the developer's trademark difficulty, the opening bonfire gauntlet feeling purposefully designed to separate the casuals from those who'll then go all the way through to the end. Set in a dark, sinisterly gothic world with a story involving ancient practices like bloodletting and cult worship, the wider narrative of Bloodborne is a high point of creator Hidetaka Miyazaki's entire career. As with all Soulsborne's, exposition comes from exploration, spurring you to search every corner of Yharnam's darkest alleys just to see what you can find. Number 4. Horizon Zero Dawn. After a decade of endlessly brown and grey Killzone sequels, the sheer amount of colour and vibrancy bursting from every pore of Horizon feels like developer Guerrilla finally got let loose. Centered on the adventures of Aloy in a post-apocalypse where civilizations are returning after a past event destroyed everything, the robotic dinosaurs now roaming the land are all part of that super sweet mystery. Thankfully, another element of Guerrilla knowing that this IP had to land strong comes from a spectacularly confident script. The devs answer 99% of our questions, giving Horizon a thunderous pace from beginning to end, one that feels so satisfying at every turn. Aloy's journey to find her ancestry is great, but Horizon's world is also full of character. On the surface, you can piece together the remnants of various broken societies, see opulent hierarchies forming in certain places, whilst a dark cyberpunkian underbelly lives below, just waiting to be explored. Also, add Horizon to that list of titles that shows off just what a PS4 can do, because, well, just look at this. Number 3. Death Stranding. I think, all things considered, I cherish Death Stranding the most this generation. Sure, its story might fall back on, yep, I guess space magic made that happen, a little bit too much overall, but the feeling of genuine surprise that encompasses Sam's journey across America is unlike anything else. On the face of it, you're delivering packages and walking everywhere, but across 50-ish hours of play, you'll go from struggling to wade through water to building highways and ziplines, firing up your Akira-style bike to tear off towards the next delivery point. All of this is intertwined with other players in semi-real time. You can ping the map to see if you're standing near someone else in their respective game, but together you'll build and share every structure. Equipment, weapons, ladders, ropes, everything is communal. And it's this sensation of genuinely working together while still being so apart that is at the heart of Death Stranding's overall appeal. Even if you find yourself bouncing off just how arduous that gameplay can be in the opening chunk, know that those feelings are intentional. It should feel like a genuine task to reconnect people who don't want to be reconnected. But the results are rewarding in a brilliantly unique way. Number 2. The Last of Us. The Last of Us was a gorgeous game on PS3 and one of the few last-gen titles that still looks at home on PS4, but the real heart of it is in the story and characters. A fresh take on zombie survival by rooting all our fears and worries through the father-daughter combo of Joel and Ellie, it's the performances of Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson respectively that really bring this to life. Praise be to Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley for directing incredibly emotional scenes with exemplary acting, as this only keeps you invested in between some stellar stealth and action sequences. Establishing a mix of bleakness with a road movie feel of discovery as Ellie gets to see what life was like outside her military bunker, it's this dissection of humanity, fallibility, and society that urges you to see how it ends. The Last of Us 2 will kick off the next decade for PlayStation in 2020, and if it's anywhere near as good as this, well, I'll see you in another 10 years. And number 1, God of War. God of War manages to combine so many time-tested gameplay tropes, incredible writing, lovable characters, and immaculate world design to transcend into truly magical territory. Existing as a metatextual comment on where the franchise is at after a decade of Kratos butchering everyone in his path, we now have a broken, sad protagonist who actively regrets his past and doesn't believe that he deserves love. It is majorly deep, nuanced subject matter for a character formerly known for stabbing a Hydra through the head with a shipmast, and it all plays out through your relationship with son Atreus. Alongside this is a meaty combat system with plenty of experimentation and tons of that signature brutality. The world itself begs replayability and exploration, a sense of drive backed up by this wayward father slowly reconnecting with his son, and the pair learning to trust one another all over again. In short, God of War is an easily recommendable action game, but dig into its wider franchise positioning, where it sits in gaming history, what it means for Sony Santa Monica and creative director Cory Barlog, and you have a wall-to-wall masterpiece. Sony can be proud to call this one of their best PlayStation games, and it's certainly my personal pick as the finest PlayStation exclusive of the decade. At least with all that said, that's what I think. Let me know what you would pick down in the comments below, and are there any that I missed? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. Please check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and I'll catch you soon.